Yes. So I recognize this as being the video recording of the proffer interview of Jeremy Goodale conducted on February 23rd of 2023. I am sitting directly across from Mr. Goodale, dressed in orange. Beside Mr. Goodale to his immediate left is defense attorney Mr. Cook. And then to my immediate right is Lieutenant Kinsella of the Fairfield Police Department. And then also pictured there in the lower right-hand corner is also Mr. Goodale's defense counsel.
And that date timestamp of February 23rd of 2023 at or about 1:45 p.m., that matches your recollection?
Yes, it does.
I'm going to restart that so we can get the audio.
I checked my phone. I remember hanging out with him.
And let's talk about in the lead up surveillance. What kind of surveillance are you guys doing?
So it would have been on Monday, November 1st. I would have been hanging out with John and Braden, I believe his name was. I was more of an acquaintance with Braden. Introduced me to John, but I would have been hanging out with John and Braden at the skate park. And then I checked my phone. I remember I was supposed to go do this surveillance of Chaden. And so I kind of I told him, hey, I gotta go do something. Braden, can I borrow your bike so I can get there faster? He said, sure.
And this would have been in the afternoon?
It would have been around somewhere between 2 and 3.
Okay.
In the afternoon.
Braden's bike?
Braden's bike. Okay. And I left him my skateboard as assurance. And so I biked from O.E. Nelson Park to Fairfield High School.
That's where you met him?
Chaden was already inside meeting with Miss Graber over, I guess, his grades or excess schoolwork he get caught up on.
This is Monday?
This is Monday.
Okay. Okay. And so you're standing out waiting for him?
Yeah.
Okay. And then from there, where do you go?
From there, he came out, and I guess he said she had some other stuff she had to finish before she would leave. And so he went over to the bike rack, which was farther away from where her van was. At the time, I didn't know what car she drove. And he goes and he leaves and gets on his bike, and I'm still standing near the football field, actually, like coincidentally a few feet away from her van. And I begin to walk my bike out over to see what's going on with Chaden. And then that's when I see her come out of the school and get to the van. And then I followed it to shut on bike.
Okay. Did you acknowledge her when she came out? Did you guys see each other, say hi, I'm Miss Graber, hi, Jeremy, nothing like that?
No.
Okay.
She's on.
Okay.
And then Chaden caught up with me when we were at the park.
And how does he catch up with you?
He had his bike.
He had his bike. Okay.
He already knew that she went to Chautauqua Park. And so he biked there when he saw that I was gone. And then I think we watched her walk the trail once around, and then we just left.
Okay. And where are you watching her from?
On the trail itself.
You're on the trail? Are you 50 yards behind her?
About.
Are you
Walking our bikes along the trail.
okay.
A good distance.
Does she ever look back and do like that, anything of that nature? So as far as you can tell, you guys never made eye contact. She Why is a 4-day weekend good as opposed to a school night?
I always just assumed because we wouldn't have to be at school, so he could have the time to make the preparations.
Okay.
And we knew she would be at school, as he knew. And so we went off that knowledge that we would have time to prepare beforehand, and we would know where she was at.
Okay. And so going into November 2nd, what is the agree of you've done your surveillance? Presumably you've discussed what equipment you're going to need at different times. What ultimately is the plan? Going into it, before you get there, before it actually starts happening, in your words, what's the plan?
Hit her with a bat and drag her off the trail.
Okay.
Do you have an area picked out?
He had that already picked out. And I found out when he dragged me off after I said goodbye to Zoe, and I followed him to where he already had all his equipment laid out.
Okay. And was that equipment what we just described before? Okay. And he had it laid out already? Okay. What kind of things is he saying? Is he saying like, I'm gonna fucking kill that bitch? Is he not saying anything? Is he describing to you what you two are going to do? I mean, it's pretty easy and straightforward to say, we're going to hit her, we're going to drag her off, but I imagine that there was a little bit more color in the conversation.
I discussed how, or he said he would just walk up behind her and hit her, and I said, well, okay, I guess I can stand a little farther up the trail and look out and make sure no one's coming from this direction.
Okay. Like in front of where she's walking.
Yeah, that
Okay.
direction.
Okay.
In front of where she's walking. Is that closer to the parking lot, or are you talking down the longer stretch?
Close to the point.
Does this look familiar in terms of her walking path?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not going to be completely accurate, but just for my frame of reference, since I'm not a Fairfield guy, can you put it an X generally where about she would have been walking at that time?
Well, she would have been walking along here.
Sure. Yep.
And then roughly, you pretty much see right around here is the access trail. So he would hit her around probably here.
About there. And then where are you positioned at? Don't mark it, but where are you positioned?
A little farther out.
A little farther ahead.
Around here.
And then we're
on the trail.
and then he's hiding somewhere in the tree area? Okay. Okay. And so you're kind of keeping a lookout here, and he's probably keeping a lookout down that way? Okay. Okay, thank you. Would you mind just putting your initial right next to that X? It's not going to be perfect, that's okay. Thank you. But no other options were discussed. Like, he never contacted you and said, like, God, it'd be nice just to have a gun to shoot her. Or it'd be nice to catch her, in the vehicle, anything of that nature?
No, not to me.
No, okay.
And you said he had his equipment laid out. What equipment does he have laid out?
It would have been the screwdriver, hammer, baseball bat, water, pocket knife.
And then were you instructed to bring any equipment yourself?
No.
Okay. And then, so, the plan is he's going to hit her in the head, you're going to stand watch out, and then you're going to together remove her from the trail. What's the plan after that?
There wasn't really a plan beyond that. It's just improvisation.
Okay. Like hide the body, bury the body, stage the body?
At that time, we were going to hide the body
And so at this point, if you don't mind, one of the things I sometimes like to do is just kind of open it up for an open hearing. And by that I mean I'm going to try to shut up long enough for you to just explain your recollection of things, how they went down. I'm sure I'll probably have some follow-up questions when you're through, but sometimes just kind of like putting it all on the table and it gives us some perspective on what we're looking at. So if you wouldn't mind, just beginning, you're with Zoe, you're smoking
believe I would have went home after that. And, I think I went home and took a shower and ate something and took a nap. After that, I was pretty exhausted. Me and Shane had agreed to meet up at 12 o'clock at his house to finish disposing. We was buried in a different spot.
Midnight?
At midnight.
Okay.
I did get something wrong when we moved back.
Sure.
I was missing something, but after Habib dropped us off, I actually went to Shane's house with him, and he handed me a small green bag with a tarp inside of it, and he said, like, make sure you can bring this out of your house with you when you sneak out tonight, and like, I'll meet you at 12.
Was it here, this conversation?
No, this is after he dropped us off. Me and Shane had walked from Chicago to his house, and then he says this to me. He says,
Right.
"Here, take this. Make sure you can bring it with you at 12." Yep. And then at 12, I snuck out of my house. He had left his wheelbarrow in his driveway for me to come grab and move for him. And I
feel that somebody's coming up behind me. Was there ever like this in the moment before, or did she get hit square in the back because it was assumed she never saw it coming?
Yeah.
Okay.
And she saw me, and I was standing on the trail and walking towards her. I had a face mask up, pulled it down, and I guess she was just looking at me when he walked up behind her.
I would assume for her being out there by herself to see an individual with a mask in front, that would be startling. Did she stop?
No, and that's kind of why I pulled the mask down. Just didn't want to stop her.
Oh, okay.
That's the whole reason I took the mask off.
Okay, got it. Okay, you had mentioned before about how once you and Shaden make your way from where Zoe was, or once you meet up, you see all the equipment light up. At one point, you actually cross paths with Ms. Graber and you exchange pleasantries. About how long was that interaction time? Are we talking
A few seconds.
a few seconds?
Where's it at, Jeremy?
That would have been on the trail in front of the parking lot.
Right where the arms come down? Where they have the blocks, remember at November 1st, they put the arms down so you can't drive around. And then you kind of have to walk around those arms, and then you make the right to start on the trail.
Yeah, it would have been between those arms.
That's where the trail turns off to the right to get on it.
Like if you were to go from the parking lot and just walk straight to the trail, that was a roundabout where it was.
Once she struck, and would you say it was square in the back of the head, base of the skull, top of the head?
Square in the back.
Square in the back. And is this Shaden coming up with one hand on the back and striking, or was it two hands as if he's playing softball or baseball?
Yeah.
Okay. And shortly after that first strike, that's when you guys go into concealment mode? Is that fair?
Right after that, I told him, we should make sure it was done.
Okay.
And that's when he hit it 2 more times.
On the trail?
On the trail.
Before you guys move her, he hits her once, she goes down, you come over, make sure she's done. 2 more. Is she lying on her face?
She would have been on her face.
On her face. 2 more shots to the back of the head?
Back kind of side area.
Back side area of the head. Okay. And then that's when you two, at the conclusion of those 2 shots, that's when just you start to move her and he is lookout?
I think he originally started helping me, and then I was on my own dragging her, and then I wasn't even sure where he was at. I just went.
Okay. Okay. So, once you see her drop after that first initial hit, you go up there and you make the indication or issue the direction that Shaden to like make sure she's not breathing, and then you say that he follows up with 2 shots. As you're moving her, she's open and closing her hands. You say that by now we're committed, we're in this, and you feel the need to finish the job. About how, and again, I'm not going to hold you to the exact number, but about how many times do you strike her to finish things off?
5, more or less.
Approximately 5. And was there something about her body movements or lack thereof that made you think, I'm done at 5, as opposed to I need to do 5 more?
Well, after 5, it kind of just felt like it was too much. It was like I didn't want to have to touch the bat to begin with, and then she was still alive, and I was waiting for a moment because after I heard that breath, I waited for a moment to see where Shaden was at, if he was going to come around, and then he did. And so then I picked up the bat. It was around 5, and I was like, okay, I couldn't do anymore.
And how did you end up with the bat in your hands?
Because he left it back there when he was standing on the trail. He didn't have it with him. After I dragged the body, he probably did drag it with it. No. I think after I dragged the body, he went back there and set the bat down, and then went back out on the trail while I finished moving her a little farther onto the axis.
Special Agent Goodale, does that accurately reflect the interview you conducted with Mr. Goodale?
Yes, it does.